All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Buenas tardes, damas y caballeros. The distinguished University of Costa Rica extends a warm welcome to the biannual Food, Climate, Biodiversity Nexus workshop. This event is organized by the School of Geography of the University of Costa Rica and funded by the Social Science and Humanities Research Council of Canada, in collaborations with the University of British Columbia. Joining us at the main table are Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Canada to Costa Rica, Ms. Iona Sajas-Martin, the Interim Director of the Department of Nutrition at UCR, Professora Doctora Shirley Rodriguez, the Interim Director of the Department of Geography here also at UCR, Professor Dr. Edgar Espinosa Cisneros, the Director of the CIMAR Research Center for Marine Studies and Limnology, Professor Dr. Alvaro Morales Ramirez, the representative of FCB Costa Rica, Dr. Taylor Clark, and Principal Investigator of FCB, Professor Dr. William Chong from the University of British Columbia. A cordial greetings to all attendees in the auditorium. We will begin with words from the Interim Director of the Department of Geography, University of Costa Rica, Professor Dr. Edgar Espinosa Cisneros, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I didn't know I was the first one. I wasn't ready for it. So thank you again. I'm not much into reading my speech, but I'm going to have to read it this time. So on behalf of the School of Geography at UCR, it's a great honor to welcome you to this event, and thank you all for being here, where we come together to explore what one of the most pressing challenges of our time, the intricate and vital connection between climate, food, and biodiversity. So I extend my sincere gratitude to each of you for being here, for your commitment to this important topic, and for the knowledge and perspectives you bring to this discussion. So I think we all acknowledge that it is beyond question that to tackle the unprecedented sustainability challenges, we need to consider integrated scientific approaches and the nexuses between the myriad components that make up our complex systems. Around the world, we are witnessing firsthand the undeniable links between a changing climate, food security, and the delicate balance of life on our planet. Rising temperatures are altering agricultural productivity, food scarcity is threatening ecosystems and human communities alike, and biodiversity loss is accelerating at an alarming rate. Integrated approaches to sustainability problems provide the opportunity to break detrimental paradigms and mindsets by rethinking our relationship to nature, questioning pervasive and harmful underlying causes of unsustainability, and to implement innovative solutions that can restore and sustain the natural systems upon which we all depend. So this event is another great opportunity to discuss important nexus themes and explore solutions that are relevant at multiple scales. The discussions we have today can help inform policies and practices, indeed, that can make a difference and generate transformative change. So once again, on behalf of the School of Geography, welcome to this event, and we hope we all have a very pleasant and productive time here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Edgar Espinosa Cisneros. Next, we will hear from the Principal Investigation of FCB, Professor, Dr. and Director William Chong of the University of British Columbia. William, please.
Thank you very much. So good to be here in Costa Rica. Her Excellency, directors, professor, distinguished guests, colleagues, and partners. Buenas tardes and good afternoon. It is really a privilege to join you here today at the biannual conference of the Solving the Sustainability Challenges at the Food, Climate, and Biodiversity Nexus Partnership. We call it the Solving-FCB Partnership for short. Together with my co-director, Professor Rashid Sumaila, who is on the room here, and members of the Solving-FCB partnership, I would like to extend my heartfelt appreciations to the University of Costa Rica, our host, for their exceptional hospitality and supporting in the organizations of this event. I want to specifically acknowledge Professor Christine Berko, Professor Ingo Whitman, Dr. Taylor Clark, and Dr. Astrid Sandstrid for their and their teams for their support in the organizations on the ground. They have ensured that everything runs smoothly. Your work is a testament in the spirit of the collaboration that defines this partnership. We are also grateful to the Embassy of Canada to Costa Rica for their generous support in hosting an event, a reception for our meeting on Thursday, and you're all invited to join. It is particularly fitting for our partnership together this week in this country that stands at the forefront of environmental leadership to reflect on the importance of the work we do. Costa Rica's commitment to sustainable development and biodiversity conservation, the associated challenges, and the approaches they take to address them offer valuable lessons for us and the global community. The Solving-FCB project, which is a 6-year international partnership program, received the core funding provided by the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada. This support has been instrumental in allowing us to establish a solid research network that addresses the intertwined challenges of food security, biodiversity conservation, and climate actions. Additionally, the contributions and support from our international partners, including universities, non-governmental organizations, and community organizations, have helped us expand and strengthen our work. These collaborations really exemplifies the importance of building transdisciplinary and cross-sectoral, cross-border partnerships to tackle global challenges that no single country or institute can solve alone. At this critical juncture of the world, such meaningful international collaborations are more essential than ever. As we are approaching the midterm of our partnership, this conference offers us an important opportunities to bring our diverse research, training, and engagement activities together to co-create solutions to the most pressing challenges of our time. Over the next few days, we will discuss topics ranging from nature-based solutions, sustainable food systems, to community-driven adaptation strategies. We will reflect on our progress, and more importantly, explore new directions for our research, training, and engagement. On Wednesday, we will have an opportunity to visit this case study project site location in the Gulf of Nicoya to experience firsthand the challenges and opportunities faced by local communities in managing coastal ecosystems, fisheries, and land-sea interactions. This is a core aspect of our partnership, which is to engage directly with local stakeholders to deepen our understanding of the real-world impacts of our work and to identify opportunities and solutions for enhancing collaborations, knowledge transfer, and sustainable development outcomes. We also recognize that the impacts of our work extends beyond academic publications. It is about training the next generations and providing practical knowledge and solutions to communities, government, and organizations around the world. We have already seen big progress involved in this partnership, and I'm confident that this conference will lead to further meaningful outcome. I look forward to the stimulating discussions and exchanges with you in the coming days. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Gracias, Professor Dr. Director William Chung. We continue with a message from the representative of FCB Costa Rica, Dr. Taylor Clark.
Floor is yours.
Good afternoon, members of the Solving-FCB team. Good afternoon, Her Excellency, professors, directors at the main table. On behalf of the Costa Rican case study of Solving-FCB, welcome. Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us here and for some of you, many of you, have actually traveled from very, very far away to be here and participate in the Solving-FCB workshop this week. So I wish us all a very exciting and a very productive work week. To start off, I would like to share what motivates me more about this project and why I think it's so important. I think that Solving-FCB gives us the opportunity to focus on a positive future, on imagining a world that we want to live in and chart a path towards that future. It's so easy to get bogged down with all the problems and all the negative things of the world, and Solving-FCB gives us that space to try and come up with solutions. I also love the fact that it recognizes that these big global challenges can't be tackled by just one person. We have to collaborate across disciplines, across sectors, across countries, and across different ways of understanding the world. And I love that about this project. And finally, we take all this and we zoom in on each one of our case studies. We're lucky enough to have a case study here in Costa Rica, and we're in Costa Rica, so I'm going to share a little bit about it with you today. It focuses in the Gulf of Nicoya, which we are going to visit on Wednesday. We chose the Gulf of Nicoya because it's the most important traditional fishing grounds in the country, especially for small-scale fishers. But at the same time, it's facing these enormous problems like overfishing, like coastal hypoxia and eutrophication, and climate change. And this is affecting the communities that live there. So our team is focusing on these issues in a very transdisciplinary lens, with a very transdisciplinary lens. We first integrate different modeling approaches to try and understand how different land use and climate change pathways will be affecting conditions inside the Gulf, and how that can have knock-on effects to marine biodiversity, fisheries resources, and the fishing communities that depend on them. These resources with the specific focus on gender and on food security. This modeling approach will then allow us to explore the potential benefits of implementing different nature-based solutions on land and on the ocean. Like, what happens if we reduce nutrient input into the rivers from agriculture? What happens if we restore mangroves, or if we do seaweed aquaculture? How would that improve conditions within the Gulf of Nicoya and the lives of the people around it? And so finally, our social science colleagues, they go in and they work with the communities, and they try to integrate the scientific knowledge with their local knowledge to try and see, out of all of the changes that are going on, what is the most pressing, what's the most important, and how do we come up with solutions together? And in a nutshell, that's our case study. So over the week, I look forward to learning from you, to comparing our case studies, finding out what's common so we can find common solutions, but at the same time studying the differences so that we can implement these solutions in our local contexts. Finally, once again, welcome. Thank you for being here, and I wish us all a very exciting and productive week.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor Clark. Gracias. Following that, we will have words from the director of CIMAR, Research Center for Marine Studies and Limnology, Professor Dr. Álvaro Morales Ramírez. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. I have here a problem. My English is not very good, and then I don't know that I should give a speech. Also, I will speak in Spanish. I'm sorry. Un saludo muy cordial a todas y todos ustedes, a los miembros de la mesa principal, de parte del Centro de Investigación en Ciencias del Mar y Limnología de la Universidad de Costa Rica. Les deseamos muchos éxitos en este encuentro. La seguridad alimentaria es fundamental en proveer a las comunidades costeras los recursos alimentarios necesarios para su desarrollo integrado. El cambio climático, la pérdida de biodiversidad y la contaminación son los tres grandes problemas que tiene la humanidad. Y dos de ellos, la diversidad y el cambio climático, ustedes lo van a discutir. Pero estoy seguro que la contaminación, especialmente contaminantes emergentes, están socavando el ciclo de vida de los recursos marinos y por lo tanto podrían estar afectando las larvas de nuestros peces que capturamos y mediante los cuales también queremos asegurar la alimentación de la humanidad. Creo que la cooperación internacional, regional, es fundamental para países en vías de desarrollo, porque nos permite tener acceso a recursos, pero más que eso, a interactuar con la ciencia y proponer nuestras necesidades. Y en ese sentido, este es un rico espacio para todos. Así que les deseo muchos éxitos. Maybe not anybody understand me, but sorry. Pero les deseo muchos éxitos en esta actividad. Thank you so much.
Gracias, profesor doctor Álvaro Morales Ramírez. A continuación, back to English. Subsequently, this is a hard word, we will hear from the interim director of the Department of Nutrition, UCR, Professor Shirley Rodriguez. The floor is yours.
Buenas tardes. Reciban un cordial saludo de la Escuela de Nutrición, señora embajadora de Canadá, Iona Sanz, demás miembros de la mesa y las delegaciones que nos visitan. Es un gusto tenerles acá en esta actividad, en este encuentro. La Escuela de Nutrición ha venido colaborando en el proyecto a partir del enfoque de seguridad alimentaria y nutricional, enfoque sistémico que integra las diversas dimensiones, en la cual la dimensión ambiental es céntrica y que permite o no permite el desarrollo de la seguridad alimentaria y nutricional en las comunidades. Entonces, desde ese enfoque integral podemos visualizar las interrelaciones que se dan entre esas dimensiones para favorecer o no futuros deseables, reales y factibles para las comunidades locales con las que estamos trabajando. Realmente este enfoque es fundamental y facilita la intercomunicación y acción, ¿verdad?, en las realidades en las que estamos. Espero que este encuentro sea de muchos éxitos y que les permita generar vinculaciones y fortalecer las investigaciones que están desarrollando cada uno en sus países. Bienvenidos.
Gracias, Profesora Doctora Shirley Rodriguez. Yes. Now we will proceed with the words from Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Canada to Costa Rica, Mrs. Joanna Sajas Martins. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Muy buenas tardes. Bonjour. Bienvenidos. Welcome. It's really nice to meet all of you and see you here. I know some of you have traveled a long way, so I hope that you had some good Costa Rican coffee to perk you up a little bit. Thank you so much, esteemed colleagues. So Dr. Alvaro Morales, Director of the Research Center for Marine Studies and Limnology, Dr. Edgar Espinosa, Director of the Department of Geography, Dr. Shirley Rodriguez, Interim Director of the Department of Nutrition, distinguished members of the FCB team, Dr. Taylor Clark, Dr. William Chung, and dear fellow Canadians, of whom I know there are a number here, and fellow researchers and collaborators from very interesting and wonderful countries. So we've got Costa Rica, Canada, China, Netherlands, Ghana, and Nigeria, and I think you're collaborating with others from other countries as well. So Dr. Clark said this, and I fully reiterate that it's amazing to have, and it's necessary to have collaboration across countries and across disciplines if we're going to get anywhere in meeting the Sustainable Development Goals and having actual progress on food security, climate, biodiversity. The world is at a critical juncture and full of challenges. How's that for an understatement? Especially after the last few weeks. In these times of uncertainty, it's really encouraging and necessary for science, the arts, and humanities to work together. And I think that I'm not a researcher or a scientist. I love literature, though. And for me, I find the opportunity to have linkages across disciplines like that with humanities and the sciences brings that different type of lens and creativity to the work. And so I have always been impressed with the work of the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada, which promotes and encourages scientific and humanistic research. Training has thousands of grants and fellowships every year, and sometimes they're small, but you can do a lot with even small investments. So this commitment represents the Government of Canada's commitment to deepen knowledge through comprehensive and interdisciplinary research, and it demonstrates that science is fundamental to innovation, inclusive economic growth, and to addressing any of today's challenges. We can't work in silos. There isn't a single issue, I think, confronting us that can only be done by political scientists or economists or agronomists. You need to work together. Climate change and its consequences are among the greatest and most urgent challenges, and we do need to act decisively to adopt evidence-based policies that will enable us to implement sustainable and inclusive solutions to mitigate its impact and protect the most vulnerable. You all know that, and those are words that we use a lot in development cooperation, in international diplomacy. But it's through scientific research and action research, the research that's policy relevant, that will actually get to solutions. And that's why I think the work that you're doing is so important. It's not just theoretical and hypothetical, it's coming up with actionable research and coming up with research to come up with actionable policy and programs. I've been excited to learn about your 6-year partnership, solving the sustainability challenges at the food, climate, and biodiversity nexus. And these are fundamental issues that acknowledge local context, human behavior, and advance common goals on achieving food security, climate mitigation, and biodiversity conservation. And I've only been here in Costa Rica for 5 months, but I've really been impressed and noticed how much, not just government and university and specialists, actors in those sectors, but everyday people are very, very proud of how much Costa Rica pays attention to biodiversity and environmental protection. And so I think that it's wonderful to see this collaboration across our different countries as well. Taking a look at, it's good that you're taking a closer look at the Gulf of Nicoya, and I'm looking forward to hearing about your experiences there. Nicoya is one of the blue zones. I don't know if you've seen the documentaries on Netflix, but hopefully you can find out the secrets of Nicoya and definitely share those in terms of people's longevity. And obviously they're doing something right, but wanting to make sure that that's protected and not overly consumed, of course. I think that one thing I'll mention just by way of background that's maybe different than what you're working on, but just to share another example of how Canada and Costa Rica are collaborating. We're working on ocean biodiversity through a dark vessel detection program using technology to detect illegal fishing activity in the Cocos Island National Park. So that's just one example. We had a couple of biodiversity-related projects announced at the most recent COP, so this was one of them. And there's other areas that we're working together with Costa Rica. Our embassy also covers and represents to Honduras and Nicaragua. And so just to let you know that we're also working very closely with those countries on issues related to environmental sustainability and biodiversity and agriculture as well. So thank you again for your work. I, in a previous job, was director of the International Assistance Research and Knowledge Division at Global Affairs Canada. We worked closely with SSHRC to fund a number of different research activities. And so I just want to thank you again and encourage you to share what you're learning, not just with each other, but to find creative ways to share them beyond the academic community, because I promise you we will use these lessons and examples in our work, in our advocacy, and in our diplomacy with other countries. So thank you for being here. Muchísimas gracias. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all on Thursday evening as well and to hear about how your week has gone. Thank you.
Gracias. Thank you. Merci, Your Excellency, Ms. Yona Sajas Martin. Okay, well, we hereby officially inaugurate this activity in this week, and I am very pleased to let you know that we will continue with a lecture from Professor Dr. Rashid Sumaila, who will probably tell us about all the fish in the world, Infitiny Fish, maybe? Rashid? Maybe. Dr. Ingo Verdman, I invite you to come on the front and introduce Rashid. The members of the main table, I invite you to move to your seats, and thank you, everyone.
Well, good afternoon to everybody, especially the ambassador of Canada and Costa Rica, the authorities and colleagues from the UCR, and all of you friends and colleagues and attendees of the workshop. It's certainly a very unique pleasure for me to introduce Professor Dr. Rashid Sumaila. However, the problem is he sent me 80 pages as a CV. How can you summarize something like this in a couple of words or minutes? So I will try to do it, but I'm pretty sure after the talk, Rashid will tell me, well, you forgot to say this and this. We'll see that. Starts with the basics. Rashid Sumaila is a professor and Canada Research Chair in Interdisciplinary Ocean and Fishery Economics at the Institute of the Oceans and Fisheries and the School of Public Policy and Global Affairs at the University of British Columbia in Canada. According to his webpage, his research focus on bioeconomics, because he's an economist, marine system evaluation, and the analysis of global issues such as fisheries subsidies, marine protected areas, illegal fishing, climate change, marine plastic pollution, and oil spills. And I would add whatever else, it's also on him. More specifically, Rashid's research focus on, first, and that's interesting, applying game theory to fisheries to, for example, identify whether or not developing countries should give access to their fisheries resources to foreign countries and foreign fleets. 2, rethinking the nature of the discount rates applied to natural resource projects. 3, understanding the nature, amounts, and effects of government subsidies on global fisheries. 4, documenting the employment in fisheries and competing uses of living marine resources. And 5, estimating the multiple benefits that would be obtained globally by reducing fish stocks and setting up marine reserves, including the concept of the high seas as a large marine reserve or a fish bank for the world. And I think his presentation today will be going into this direction. Rashid has been awarded numerous international awards. It's really a long list, so you have to update it every 6 months probably. And I choose only the most recent awards. For example, from 2024, he received the title Extraordinary Professor by the University of Pretoria's Department of Agriculture, Economics, Extension, and Rural Development. In 2023, he was included, and that really impressed me, in the 100 most influential Africans in 2024. He also received in the same year Prince Albert I Medal in Science from the Oceanographic Institute of Monaco. And in the same year, co-winner of the Tyler Prize for Environmental Achievement along with Daniel Pauli. So you can imagine that such a person had an incredible long publication list, and so I won't bother you to tell you how many papers he published, but I was also impressed that they have already more than 55,000 citations. So that's really quite impressive. And the publication list not only includes scientific papers in journals, but also books, chapters, and the addition of special journal issues. And also interesting, more than 100 of its papers, that's probably 30% only, have been cited more than 115 times. So that's also pretty impressive. So I hope I convinced you that Rashid is really an extraordinary scientist and also an extraordinary person. And now we have also the pleasure to hear his presentation from Vanishing Fish to Infitiny Fish, 3 things we need to abandon. So you have 40 minutes.
course, you have to put it on before it works. I didn't know that. Because Ingo confused me with all the things. Yeah, he said, right. So thank you very much. He's trying to do something here, but we can start. Yeah. I think first of all, I have to thank the ambassador for staying. I'm used to political leaders, they just give their talk and they vanish, you know. But you are here, thank you for that. And okay, thank you. And thanks to all of you and to Costa Rica. I have more thanks at the end, but it's really amazing to be able to come together, and the initial talks really hit on what we set out to do for this project, that is bringing people of different perspectives from different areas, disciplines, with academics and non-academics to try to solve. This is a big problem, right? Can you imagine solving the sustainability challenges at the nexus of food security, climate change? I think that's why we got the money, but now we have to do the job, and it's not easy. So, yeah, all right. He worked on my machine here. Oh, let's see. Let's try something. You want to get it? Okay. It's trying to get the live transmission going here. You try again, right? Yeah, usually that's all you do. It's amazing. She just pulled it out and pulled it back in. Yeah. All right, so thank you very much. 40 minutes is a lot. Usually, sometimes you are given 6 minutes or 10 minutes to talk. So I may have overloaded my staff, but let's see whether I can make it in the time available. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. So this is the basic outline. Why do we need to move from vanishing fish to infinity fish? So I will explain what vanishing fish is and infinity fish is also. And I think just all the thinking, all the writing, collaboration, working with all of you and more people outside of this room, I've actually come to conclude that there are things we need to abandon if we're going to have a sustainable ocean that can feed all the people in the world and also in the face of climate change without destroying our biodiversity, because that's essentially what we're trying to do. And my starting point is this thing here I call my favorite model. I love this model. It's very simple. It's down to earth. It simplifies a lot, which you can forgive me. But essentially, when you look at the ocean, what do? We, the people, when we go to the ocean, we do basically two things. I mean, we take what we need, what we want, what we desire, we take it from the ocean into our economy, into our culture, social systems. We do what we do with them, and at the end of the day, what do we produce? Waste. And where do the waste go? They go to the ocean. So from the ocean, good things come, to the ocean, bad things go. And if we do not monitor how we do the taking and how we do the pumping out, we're going to kill this mighty system that has lots of life, and that will have consequences on us in the face of climate change and biodiversity. So to me, this is the formulation. And clearly we need everybody, and Taylor said it, the ambassador said it, and all of you. No single discipline can do this. I like saying this to economists in particular, and they don't like hearing it. Profit alone will not do this job. I mean, profit is important, but it's not the only thing. You have to bring all the perspectives and so on. So that's it. So you need interdisciplinarity, you need integration, you need partnership, co-creation of knowledge, and bringing different knowledges together. In Canada, we talk a lot about indigenous knowledge, right? And they've been living with the ocean for what have you, right? And what can we learn from that? And across the world. So it's partnership, we need to work together. That's the thing. Now, what is Vanishing Fish? This is a summary of Vanishing Fish. Incidentally, Vanishing Fish is actually a title of a book by Daniel Pauli, our colleague. You can Google it. And we never talked to each other when he did this. The paper came out before I knew, right? And then I also came out with Infitiny Fish, which I'll talk about. And I kind of thought the two things kind of are nice ways to formulate a talk like this here. So vanishing fish is what you see. You know, we take the big fish and then the next big one, and then we're going down. According to Daniel, this is fishing down marine food web. You end up with, initially he was saying we end up with jellyfish, but these days he's saying we end up with mud, you know, if you continue doing that. And you see the habitat is also being ripped off. I mean, see the beginning. More and more we're taking down the seamounts and all the bottom trawling and so on. And then you have the big one, climate change, right? This is the average temperature at the time this was made above the long-term average. The more reddish and yellowish it is, the higher it is. And we all know about climate change. It's remarkable. I was at Davos this year, and they told us they've never had that temperature in Davos at all at the time we were there in January. It's the warmest they've seen, and this is really high up there, that's why. So, and pollution, oh my God, you think about all the mess that goes in. Plastic, this is a live video. If it was alive and you see these things bouncing on the water, your stomach will turn, you know, and so on, and oil spills and so on. So we do have this idea of vanishing fish in our face in many places around the world, and we need to do something. But this is quite pessimistic, right? So we need a counter positive thing. Who mentioned that? One of you mentioned that FCB is positive, and that's I kind of tend to agree with that. So this is what we are facing, and many of us don't like this. And when we talk, people think it's because we just love biodiversity. We do love biodiversity, but that's not the only reason. It's because ultimately, if you mess up nature, it's going to come back and bite you, and we have history all over. You take down the trees, you deforest your thing, and then you get eaten up by all sorts of things, right, that the trees used to protect you from. Sea level rise and all the... So these are pictures. The top one is from our groups here around us at UBC, and the bottom one is from the FAO, the UN Food and Agricultural Organization. And the general trend is that we are increasingly, since the 1950s, taking more fish from overfished stocks and overfished systems. There has been some effort recently to rebuild, and you start seeing that happening in some countries. US has been quite good at this because they have a very rigid law. Canada is following up because there's pressure from scientists and NGOs, so we are making some progress. But as these things are declining, that is not good. That is not good, right? That's not something we want. But the consequences are what you see on the other side. This guy is saying, is that all the shrimp I get? And I was in Malaysia. We went to the port, and there's a lady with a table like this trying to sell fish. I saw her from far. I was excited. I took out my camera. I was coming to have photos with her. I looked at the table, and the fish, the few fish, little pathetic-looking fish, and this poor woman, that's all she has to work with to feed her family. I felt so bad I didn't take any picture. I mean, what are you going to take to the world, this depressing picture? So when we mess up nature, that's what you get. You know, people tell you, we used to go in West Africa, in half a day we fill our boat. Now we go 1 week, we don't get half what we used to get. And this is story repeated all over. So it is we the people, we ultimately suffer. I tell people, when your city suddenly floods and it becomes a river, you think the water cares? No. It's we the people. You suddenly have to know how to swim, and many of us don't know how to swim, right? So and that lady there, that's an example of what is becoming quite common. That is environmental refugees, right? I said this at the EU. I said it in many places. I said, look here. People don't just sit down and die. No, we have brains. Even the fish don't. William will tell you the fish follow the temperature. When it's too hot, they try to go. If they can, if not, they perish. People are like that. And this is not a Mexican thing. I wish I could go to the White House and say this. This is not a Mexican thing. It's not an African thing if you're in Europe. It is a human thing. I mean, people move when things are tight. I mean, I did my PhD in Norway, and they will tell you, if not for potatoes and immigration to North America, there will be no Norwegian alive today. And I think there are more Norwegian origin people in California, BC, Washington, and Vancouver than in Norway. People move. So the solution is to make life livable everywhere. And those of us who are lucky to be in a position we can help, I think that should be our task rather than saying go and die. No. Wars cannot stop people. Otherwise, we would have been stopped a long time ago, my people, right? So learn to work together. And this takes me then to my beautiful cover, Infitiny Fish. Infitiny Fish is my COVID book, right? I've been dreaming of writing it, and then COVID trapped us, and I got to do it. Is the title. The title, if you're happy with the title, it's enough. Don't read anything else. So the whole thing, the story behind it is what makes me really excited. I got invited to give a talk in Namibia, National Fisheries Day. Anyone who knows Namibia knows there are two important natural resources. One is diamond, and the other is fish. They both contribute at least 10% of the GDP, so it's big. I make the joke that if you go to Namibia within 48 hours, if you don't see the fisheries minister on the front page of the national newspaper, then she or he are out of the country, you know. That's how important it is. So I go there. I didn't know there was political fight between the two, so I go there, but I knew the extension. I go and I said, one of the things I've come to tell you today is that fish is more valuable than diamond. Oh my God, you should see the room. Who is this crazy guy, fish and diamond? And I tried to explain it. I said, number one, fish is renewable, right? Diamond is not. So don't let anyone deceive you that diamond is forever. Diamond is not forever, okay? Because if you dig a ton of diamond today, you cannot go tomorrow and dig that same ton of diamond. It's gone. But fish, you can do it. If you manage it well, you can keep taking fish forever. And anything that gives you benefit, year in, year out, to infinity, even if the benefit is small, if you sum it over time, what do you get? Infinity. Therefore, infinity fish, infinity benefit. So that's what diamond will become something else, okay? And then they were sitting looking at us. I know why you are thinking. You say, oh, we will sell our diamond, get money, and invest it, and get a flow of benefit. And I said, there were 3 minutes. I said, I know all your countries. You are all running deficits. You don't save a penny. So I'd rather have my fish for sure, if I'm a coastal person, than rely on your diamond money, right? Many people will agree with this, actually. That's the one. Then the second reason I gave is that fish is really valuable directly to many people. Diamond is to a few people. So I ask you in this room, how many of you have seen raw cut diamond in your life? Raw cut diamond. My God, 0, right? Usually you get one person, one lonely person, like Laura, right? and then I say, how many of you have eaten fish this week? And usually it's like the whole room, yeah. See? So it's valuable to many. And that's chapter 1, half of it, so you got it. You don't need to buy it. Yeah, so anyway. So, and the main argument I make here is, our goal should be to find a way to pass on a healthy ocean teeming with life to our children and grandchildren so they too can have the option to do the same. I'm not saying they will do the same, but that's not for me to decide. But please give them the option, you know. And I insist on option because I was told in the talk after my talk, somebody, why do you care? Future generations may love to eat jellyfish. So we eat the salmon and the tuna and leave jellyfish for them. I say, that's nice. How about you give them the option, you know? So that's it. Now, so it's important to turn this downwards thing upwards and be more optimistic so we get infinity benefit. So, and I think to move from vanishing to infinity fish, we must abandon the notion that we have the right, we the people, we have the right to take everything, everywhere, all at once. You know, who doesn't know where I got this from? It's a movie that won a lot of Academy Awards. One of those long trips I was watching, and I said, my God, for nature, it cannot be everything everywhere all at once. I think people have to come to a point where we say there are certain things we just don't take, and there are things we don't just take now, and so on. So that will be I'll try to talk a bit about this. So I split it into three parts, not all at once. There I'm talking about intergenerational justice. The fact that I don't think we have the right to empty the ocean. I mean, the current generation, just like those before us. It's in nature given to all of us, those here and those to come. And this has nothing to do with any principle other than the fact that it just doesn't make sense, frankly speaking. And you can use religion or culture, whatever, to back it up, but that is the thing. And the thing is, the reason I say this is this quotation I picked up in the Globe and Mail. So the whole world is my laboratory. I mean, this is how I think about this. I was watching the movie in a plane, and I saw something and integrated it in my research. I was waiting for a taxi in Halifax. I took the Globe and Mail, and I saw this quotation from no other person than Nietzsche. How many of you don't know Nietzsche? My European counterparts tell me he's not to be quoted on many things. I mean, there's some nasty stuff, but you know, that's the thing about science. There's something that you might just get right. And I think he got this right. The thing driving all this people want to go into the deep sea and take mineral and all that, is because of this thing, this egoism, which is the law of perspective. As it applies to feelings, according to which what is closest to us appears to be large and weighty, while size and weight decreases with our distance from things. We can all relate to this. And it's a truism, actually, right? I think today, in this moment, in the world, this is the most important space for us here. Those of us here, this is the most important space. It's not the White House or the Chinese president's palace. Who cares? We are here. This is what matters, right? And so it's true. And economists have taken that into what we call discounting, you know? The fact that you prefer your benefits today than tomorrow, you know? And it's about the money coming today is more valuable than the one that will come to you in 10 years, 50 years, the same amount we're talking about. So you have to adjust for that, and you use discounting to adjust for that. And that leads to a lot of issues also, which I will quickly try to talk about. This is the more, I like showing this because when I played on the paper and I got to this point, it's almost like a eureka moment for me, actually, in terms of research. So I'm going to share that. So this thing here, that straight line, assuming you are going to get a benefit of 1 unit, and to simplify, right, we do that. It could be $1 trillion or whatever. It's coming to you each year. Now, that is, each year you get $1 trillion for 100 years. If you discount that, because there are different amounts coming to you over in time, by 7%, that is how the discount rate will reduce the money coming into the future to you. By 100 years, it's almost nothing. So, and again, it makes sense, because for my dad, who sacrificed, and my mom, who sacrificed to send me to school, my salary now doesn't mean anything to them. They are not here. So it's valueless, right? But obviously, it's very valuable to me and to all of you. So if your parents had done cost-benefit analysis as we do it in economics, they wouldn't send you to school at all. Yeah, they wouldn't. That's how I argue with the economists before they start saying, oh, maybe there's something here. You know, they wouldn't. So that's the point. And you see it very vividly. If I break this into 5 generations of fishers who fish for 20 years and then they retire, you know, so you have those now, they fish for 20 years, they go. New ones come, 20 years, they go. So you have 5 generations of fishers. If you collect the benefit to them under that discounted curve, this is what you get. So the weight is really on the current generation. So, because we are using the current generation's discounting clock, as I put it in the first paper, I presented this. So that's what you get. And you ask yourself, is this fair? Do you think this is fair? Who says this is fair or not fair? It's not fair, right? Especially if you use this to make policy. It's not fair because Today is everything. Today, now. Front loading. In the paper, I talk about front loading our benefits and back loading the cost, right? You don't want your cost. And I'm talking about me too. So this is not about judgment. It's about how we behave. So when I got here, I said, is this? Then I did something, and this was what really gave me this idea. So I said, okay, how about if you fish for 20 years, you discount your thing. When you go, your daughter is starting to fish. You shouldn't count her fish as yours. So you start your discounting clock when she begins to fish. You get it? Then the next generation you start. And when you start, actually, it's not that unfair. All you needed to do is to count their fish as their fish. So this thing I call intergenerational discounting is called, I say you introduce different discounting clock for each generation. And it was like magic, actually. When I got it, I said, oh, this is fun. And then I published it, I shared it with our department, and Carl Waters, some of you don't know Carl Waters, one of our senior guys, he got so excited about it. He came to my office and said, Rashid, you just found something. All that our governments are doing is criminal. I said, Carl, take it easy. That's typical Carl. So we wrote the paper. He wants me to write that. I said, no, Carl, please. Oh, Carl, he's still around and quite senior now. So then we turned this into 2 papers, actually, and I'll soon get through this. The first one I call Intergenerational Cost-Benefit Analysis of Marine Ecosystems. And then Carl joined me. He really was excited. And because the first one I did a discrete model. So Carl came and we made a continuous model because people come in every minute. As we started, new people have come into the world, right? So these were the fundamental papers, and they are still going on. We got more papers being applied all over. And one of the first applications was this. It's a rebuilding plan. I don't have time to tell you everything about this, but so you have a system, this Icelandic ecosystem. There is overfishing, as you see from the line. It's almost like discounting, actually. I think you can feed all the profile of catching fish for almost every fish just using the discount rate. It's unbelievable. So, and then we say, we take out bottom trawlers, 50% of them for 25 years, let the fish come back, and then you harvest. So that's the harvest profile. If you do nothing, and if you rebuild, you reduce your catch 25 years, and then you can catch more sustainably. And then we evaluated the economics. What it says is if you use the conventional discounting that we use in economics, you will say rebuilding is not worthwhile. Just like we say climate change is not worthwhile. Or even having the Department of Education is not worthwhile. This is a real story, right? Some people want to cancel education because, for whatever reason, I don't understand that. So there you go. But if you use the new approach I introduced, then you will rebuild because you are counting the fish of future generations as their fish and not yours. And that is it. So that's all I can tell you now about this. The citations are there, and anyone interested, especially our scholars, our early career scholars. I gave this talk in Washington at the AAAS meeting, and there were journalists. That meeting, journalists go like crazy. And when I finished, a journalist from Stockholm, one of the big Swedish newspapers, she just came and grabbed me and said, let's go for an interview. And then she interviewed me and she said, you know what, I believe that somebody is going to win the Nobel Prize on discounting. We're just waiting. Every year it comes to the Nobel Committee, right? It's going to hit because it's so important. So those of you who are starting now, you want a Nobel Prize? Contribute. You never know, okay? All right, so that's the idea of not wanting to take everything immediately or in the short term, thinking a bit more medium and long term, and that can lead to a lot of improvement in our. So not all at once. Okay, so let's quickly look at not everything. And here I decided to use deep sea mining as an example because we're working on something live now in my group. We did one paper which we published. And essentially, we were asking whether the world should do this at all or not. You know deep sea mining, right? People want to go down 2,000 meters and below there are some noodles, I always struggle. Not noodles. Noodles are better. You can eat them. These are noodles. You know? Yeah, and they have manganese and cobalt and so on, so people want to go there and grab. And we don't have enough knowledge. So there's a lot of pushback. In fact, many countries, about 24, over 24 countries have actually said, no, we need to know more before you do this. I think Canada is one of them. Yeah. How about, I'm sure Costa Rica will be there. I don't remember exactly, but usually you guys support this kind of thing. And the innovation we introduce in that paper is that normally we say we, but who are these we? So we went into and broke the we. Are you a mining company who wants to do it? Are you South Africa or Chile who has a well-developed mining system, or Canada, terrestrial one? Are you Palau who thinks there's a lot of money to be made if they allow them to do this? So we analyze everything, and only one group will make money out of that, the companies. The rest of them will not. And Africans are also excited because the UN says if you make profit, it should be shared, especially with developing countries. And I did one calculation. Nigeria will get about $900 a year, $900,000 a year. So I asked them, if you take 900,000, share with you a year, to Abuja, who will notice it? $900,000. And for what? You're going to destroy the deep sea just for 900? No. So there's a lot of that. So that's one paper. It's been published. You can check it out. The second paper, which is under review, we just resubmitted it. We try to assess the risk of actually this socially, economically, and socially, economically, and ecologically, of course. So what's her name? Lubna, research associate in our team, she's leading this work, this particular paper, and yeah. So we did an analysis, and this is just giving you some quick results. These are some of the indicators, and these are our estimated increase in the relative impacts of deep sea mining on different indicators. So, for example, when you look at coastal vulnerabilities are likely to increase by 12–13% if you do deep sea mining than if you don't. And we have this in the, this just it's gone back. Hopefully we'll get accepted and it will become public. Just looking at the risk. Then the third paper we are doing, which is trying to do an economic analysis, and this is something I'm leading because it's really economic, and I'm so happy with where we are with this paper. I'm hoping that we'll get it in a very serious, high-impact journal, actually. And what we did was simply to conduct a qualitative analysis of the comprehensiveness of existing major CBS studies. So we did a literature review. What have people done? And most of those that are there now are done by companies, like the metal company, right? You know, based in Vancouver, yeah, one of the leading ones. They issue reports. So we checked. We got about 22 papers that have done cost-benefit analysis. So we look at that. And then we say 22 papers. We have 17 indicators, ecological, social, and economic. So you have about 456 cells of information you need, and we evaluate that qualitatively. Only 28% of the current studies have information, have qualitative information, not even quantitative. So the information is really low, even qualitatively. In terms of economics, they are not comprehensive at all. Most of them just calculate the financial, right, and leave out the rest. So then the next thing we did was to look at those 28%, how many of them have got real numbers, estimates. And that is even worse, right? It drops to 14% or below. These are all preliminary numbers. We are still working on them. So that's the second part of the analysis. The third one, which is what makes me excited. So what we did is we took the information we have. We almost did a crowdsourcing of the information. So we look at all the cells. Almost all of them had at least one piece of information for the indicators. A few don't. So then we use all the information we have to carry out a cost-benefit analysis. And that work is ongoing. Usually they do the evaluation for 3 million tons of minerals from the deep sea. And that's our unit, and the numbers are all done. I did the abstract in the plane, and very soon we'll get it done. The plane is where you can write, okay? The ambassador agrees, because then she's away from all So that's it, and we're getting to do that. All right. I don't know how am I doing with time, Mr. Moderator. It's okay? I have a bit more, and so this is the not everywhere. I decided to use current work that we are doing, and so far I could actually tell you more. So you have the financial, direct financial, you have environmental, you have social, and there was something else. Yeah, you have intergenerational. I use intergenerational discounting here also. And the only time you see a positive is the financial. All the rest are negative. So overall, it's going to show negative benefit overall to society. And we shall see when it comes. You all know the International Seabed Authority, right? It's been put together by the UN to monitor this. And it's based in Jamaica. I was there last year. There's a lot of push and pull. They just got a new director general. The last one became very unpopular because it looked like he was bent on approving deep sea mining. But now we got a lady from Brazil took over now, and so we'll see what she will do. But most of us in this business thing, the prospects for doing what is reasonable is higher now with her. Okay, so what else do I have to say? The high seas, you mentioned the high seas, yeah. This is our ocean, and we, the people, we put these colors. Light blue are country waters, 200 nautical miles from the coast. Dark blue are the high seas. The high seas are large. They are 2/3 of the whole ocean, which is half of the surface of the earth. The high seas alone, because the ocean is about 70%, right? So this is the thing. In our meeting in Malaysia, IPCC, I made a comment. The people came with their plan to do, they have land, they don't have the ocean. About climate change, I told them, I don't see the ocean, but you guys watch it. The ocean is too big to ignore, okay? You cannot ignore it. And I said, in this room, if any one of us was scoring 30% in their exams, you will never be in this room, right? So we cannot mess up the ocean. The ocean is too important. So that's it. But we put these lines. But the thing is, what you do in one part can affect what happens in the rest, because the fish go. Juliano loves this, you know. I say fish don't need visa. They go where they go, right? Yeah, they don't need, wars can't stop them. I actually said it in a meeting, and the U.S. Consulate General was in the room, like our ambassador here. He was in the room, and our Catherine was shaking when I was saying this. But then, you know, it's beautiful. After I finished, he was the one to talk. You know, I didn't know the program. I just ran from something into that. So he went up there, he said, you know, before I say what I came here to say, I want to confirm what Dr. Sumaila said. I've been in the U.S. consulate for over 50 years, and I've never seen fish come for visa. We became friends, actually. It was beautiful, yeah. So sometimes just do your thing. People love to hear what you read, what is really what you believe in, right? And they can read you, actually. So here, the high seas it has very delicate animals, right? A lot of the animals go in and out, like the tunas, you know, they go in and out. But we talk about orphans of the ocean, because they don't have any government. It's areas beyond national jurisdiction. They live very long, they grow very slowly. And I tell economists, these fishes are more economical than you to survive in that place. It's deep, it's cold, it's dark, there's no light, there's not much food. So they're very economic, they grow slowly. And they live very long. Some of them more than our grandmothers and grandfathers, right? The Greenland shark lives for 400 years. And I tell them, frankly speaking, for me, anything that lives as long as my grandfather and my grandmother, I wouldn't touch them. They deserve their right to be left alone. Don't you think so? Who doesn't agree here? Come on, guys. There are things we can eat. Anchovies, they are like that. We eat them, right? Why do you go for this delicate nature? You know? So that's that. And a lot of it is by they subsidize, and it's just one of the, it's almost like deep sea mining, actually. But the good news is these fishes are not much. They are very few. They don't contribute much to what we eat. In fact, do you know what they use a number of them for, the skins and so, to make perfumes, actually? Yeah. Yeah, it's such delicate, high luxury goods, right? So, and some of them, they live so long, they have names like people. Mr. Alfonsino is a fish. So that's that. And here you are. The good news is that most of the fish we catch in the high seas are actually fish that go in and out, the tunas. And that is what was the basis for us to say it is wise for the world to close the whole high seas to fishing, turn it into a fish bank for the world. When the tunas go in there, they get a break, then they come back in, and we can catch them cheaply, and so on and so on. Lots of benefits. And this thing, when we started, it was like we are crazy. Even my colleagues thought when I proposed this, thought it's crazy. But slowly it's catching attention. In fact, the first high seas MPA was declared before the Obama government left. The Ross Sea in Antarctica is actually closed. And now we can close 30% of it because of 30 by 30. So we are getting there slowly. And there's inequity also. A few countries take most of the fish. You are talking about China, Spain, Taiwan, Korea, you know. But if you don't go there and catch them, they move into country waters. A small country like Guinea-Bissau will get some of the fish to catch. Bangladesh will get. They probably need more fish than what, Taiwan, because, or Ling, you are here. Should I say Chinese Taipei? So, yeah, so that's the high seas. And so we came up with papers to argue it. Fortunately, it's not only our group at UBC. White and Costello, they are based at Santa Barbara. They also did some modeling thing and collaborated. They said it would be best economically to actually close the high seas to fishing. And this is the thing. Luis, were you the one who made this figure? I don't know. Somebody did this for me years ago. And who did it? William. William himself, you know. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I thought it was Luis. I always say, who did this? He's so good. He's not only director, he's not only top researcher and everything. He also has time to do that. It's amazing, William, yeah. So what William put together, when I do this, people really love it. So you close the high seas to fishing, and what normally happens is they get that break I'm talking about. So the biomass gets full, and like living things is getting tight there. What they do, they are like people. They move out, right? And so you have your fish jump into your boat, huh? How about that? Let's wait for them to come in. So you catch them cheaply. The distributional benefits are good. It's good for climate change. You don't run. You know, we catch about 5 to 8% of our global catches from the high seas, which is 2/3 of the ocean. So there are a lot of CO2 they pump out. All that you can save. Good for climate, good for biodiversity, good for equity, and what? Good for economics also. So I would do this in a heartbeat if I own the ocean, but I don't. Yeah, so that's that one. So that's the message that is coming out of this. There are certain, we have to get to a level, humanity to a level where we can actually make these decisions and not open up everything, and we try to moderate ourselves because we have the brains to do this. People say, but we are also nature. Yeah, we are nature, but we are nature with big brains that can meet from all over the world to decide the fate of other part of nature. Have you ever seen fish have a conference? So we have an obligation also. So if we did this, I think we will be able to tackle all the vanishing fish business. I think we'll be able to deal with some of the policy problems like harmful subsidies, giving subsidies to our boats to go and deplete. And I like showing this picture, the subsidies thing there. There's a nice story behind it. You know the people there? This guy was leading the effort, the WTO effort. He's from Colombia, actually. very good friend, and he read all our papers. When I go to Geneva, he'll give me time. That's him here. And then, you know this lady, can you see? That's Ngozi, right? So we did this paper, and this is about collaboration. This collaboration is good, and people are rewarding it. Shrek is rewarding it. There's a new prize by the World Economic Forum, and they want to reward collaborations across borders, across sectors. It's really cool. And our paper got to the finalists in the research column. We're number 3. And so I was there 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and Ngozi specifically mentioned our work. No paper was mentioned. We didn't win it at the end, but we were mentioned, okay, guys? Sometimes you get, thank you so much. So we got into and the people who won it, I think they really deserve it. You know what they did? They came up with an idea on how to decarbonize rice production, which is huge, to reduce up to 10%. I think they deserve it because it's a big thing, right? So, but we got there, and when I do this, I also stress, I have worked with about 4 DGs of the WTO, all of them men. This is the first woman ever to lead the WTO, and she was the only one who managed to get us an agreement. In 2022, there was an agreement. All the guys failed. And I got 38 African countries, Costa and Morocco, about 6 weeks ago, and I told them, you see what she's able to do at the world level? You guys, you have to give African women and girls the same opportunity, if not more, as the boys. Because that's what we lose. I mean, half of your brains, maybe more than half, actually. Don't you think that women, on average, you're laughing, I mean this. And I told them this, you know. And most of the ministers were men, so I got to tell them that. So really, this is a serious point. She managed to do it. Ngozi, she's amazing. They call her Director General, I call her Sister Ngozi, and she will smile. I got pictures with her. So we got about 300 scientists to really co-author this. So each scientist contributed a word, right? I told her it's the most valuable paper she could ever lay her hands on, because it's 1 word per scientist. Can you imagine that? From all over the world, and what else do I have? And you'll be able to deal with things like illegal fishing. This is just quick summaries. And we will agree to have marine protected areas 30 by 30 already. And if we do all that, we can banish this vanishing fish and move on to a more sustainable environment where we can hope to achieve infinity fish. I want to thank you all for the attention. I want to thank the ambassador. I want to thank Costa Rica, Ingo, Christian, and your teams. It's amazing. Actually, the university, you can't believe it, the university paid for the 2 keynote speakers to come here. So they paid for my trip. Ambassador, can you imagine? This is good collaboration. Huh? When you meet your counterparts, please tell them we're very grateful, and we hope to really produce something they can use. Thanks to all of you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the optimistic view and the impressions you have and the options you will give to the next generations. So we have now, I guess, around 15-20 minutes for questions. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, please.
I'll pass the microphone.
And then we can share me, right? Yeah.
I was just wondering, your high seas fishing idea, how much of the world would you have to get to buy into it, like realistically?
Yeah, that, you know, it will have to go through a lot of things, like the UN, for example. And usually, even when they agree, like the subsidies thing, countries have to ratify. And they have different numbers. Some of them are higher. Like the biodiversity one, I think they're looking for 60 countries to ratify before it comes into force. We are at 24 the last time I checked. So it's a long process. But you know what? The good news is one person starts and you never know. It's unbelievable, actually. You know, I always use the example of these mines, you know, those little bombless that afterward the victors will plant them all over. 10 years later, people are farming and boom, there. A Canadian woman, I have to find her name, started a movement and said, this is not right. You finish the war, go home, leave people alone. And at first, nobody listened. She kept going. Finally, it got through the UN. And many countries signed. The big ones didn't. US, China, Russia didn't. But from my reading, since that, the US has not planted them. No. So there are also moral things. I'm just trying to say it's hard, but not impossible. Yeah, okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Rashid, for such a very interesting presentation.
Yeah.
My question is about the deep sea mining.
Yeah.
This is not different from gold extraction in tropical rainforest.
Yeah.
Something that I wrote about when I was a graduate student.
Very good.
So you
And
tend
you
to
won a prize for it. I remember.
yeah, that was on illegal fishing.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so what happened is that in Ghana, at the time, I realized that to mine gold, we had to clear the rainforest. And we were taking 5% royalty to extract, from the gold that is extracted. If you look at all the environmental opportunity cost that is associated with gold extraction at the time, the non-timber forest benefit loss alone was about 30% of the revenue from gold. So the question is, why do you lose 30% only to take 5% as your returns from the gold extracted? Even if you add all the other taxes, the corporate taxes, it is not more than 11%. So in effect, you are losing more than you were gaining.
Absolutely.
And anytime I presented this work, they say, but your country needs the money. You need the money from extracting the gold. My answer is always at what cost?
Exactly.
So the political economic dimension of these issues are very important.
Oh, absolutely.
You are talking about a developing country that is cash strapped, need money for so many things. And basically, you can find yourself in a situation where you are losing more than you are getting, all because you need to get something now to solve some immediate problems. So, thank you very much.
Yeah, this is a big issue, not only in mining, but all over our world, actually. And I think part of the reason is what you said. I mean, some countries really need. You want to buy medicine for your hospitals and schools, and that's the only way. So you are in a tight corner, and then you are abused, essentially, by the powerful people. But you also have the issue of, that was actually why our deep sea mining paper, we say, who is the we? Because the whole society is losing 30%, but a few people are grabbing the 5%, and they are powerful. So they hold you down. You see it all over, even in developed countries, right? Yeah, somebody say, right? I mean, I look at the healthcare system in the US. When I looked, it's $2 trillion a year, the sector. And only 6 families control that. That's huge power, right? And to dislodge that, it's not going to be easy. So you have that, and that worries me a lot. So when you say, oh, the whole country loses 30%, say, so what? I get my 1% and I'm happy. Ah, gosh. And that's something we have to deal with, right? Yes, sir.
Well, I join others to say thank you for keeping all of us, even those who are tired, could not sleep.
Awake.
So, brilliant presentation, as always. Now, developing country, they say the way to go is the blue economy.
Yeah.
And then you talk about energy, you talk about all of those things.
Yeah.
And often, the fisheries is neglected.
Yeah.
How, just a walk again for you to think through, how do we communicate this very important thing, that the benefits, the human part, at the end of the day, you talk the energy and the rest of them, but how do we tell them the fuel for human is the fish, so that we can prioritize fish vis-a-vis whatever benefits. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, this is a big question for economic valuation, right? Yeah, we did a paper, Luis, Lydia, where we look at the BC ocean economy, and we try to estimate the value from each of them. And clearly, the part of the economy, ocean economy, that depends on life in the ocean, they tend very low values. And then those like shipping, Vancouver Ports Authority alone, the value they generate, economic value just wiped out. So essentially, you have to have different thinking for this thing to survive. If we depend on the market, it's going to be, we'll have a dead ocean where only you have Vancouver Ports Authority and nothing else. So in fact, we're doing a paper now where we're trying to really highlight this as a danger for the blue economy movement. Our governments and managers have to really watch it. You have to decide. This is the thing about not taking everything. You have to decide that we have to have life in the ocean and do what you need to do outside of economic valuation, because if you use economics, it's going to say we just use you up, and that's it. And big issue. And that is also what I was saying, fish is more valuable than diamond. It's trying to bring that kind of thinking to turn people's head around. And actually, this has been so effective. If you know Peter Thompson, the UN envoy on the ocean, the first time I said this, he nearly fell off his chair. I mean, he loves it so much. And he said, Rashid, you make it remember. I believe I've bought fish at least 59 times. I've taken fish home. But I never bought diamond. Anytime we meet, he's talking about it. So we need to get the thinking. It's all about the thinking. Because economic valuation, if it is about scarcity, essentially. Supply and demand. If you are scarce, you are valuable. But I think there's more to do with usefulness and impact. How do you bring that into economic valuation? A tax for all of us, but something my mind is on a lot. Yeah. Thank you for the question. Great stuff.
Ingo? Yeah.
Rashid, you said many people don't know to swim.
Yeah.
I remember that. I can swim. So I can.
No, I beat you the last time.
Well, anyway, so the question for me is, if we have so many people, they don't know the ocean, they have never been to the ocean, they don't know what is high seas, have no any knowledge about the ocean in general, how can we convince these people, including decision makers, to protect something they have never seen, never experienced? Have you any strategy or suggestion for that?
Great question again, because we need people to be able to protect the ocean. And those in the interior think they are not connected, they don't care, they don't think about it, actually. What do you do? That's why SHEC, this partnership project in SHEC, they really insist on communication and taking the information to the people, and we do that a lot. Duncan couldn't make it, he's our information guy. He would have been recording all this. We have elaborate website. First of all, communication, education is really important. At Davos, they have Davos Ocean now, and they put us in a simulator, actually, in a virtual reality where we could see the ocean. You see the sharks and the things moving. Really, the more we can do that to bring people in, I think will help. Aquariums. We did a study of values for Americans, and also you do contingent valuation. We ask Americans how much are they willing to pay to protect the ocean across the country, interior and north. And one variable showed up. Americans who have been to aquarium, whether inland or coastal people, they all valued the ocean higher because of that experience. So exposure. Yeah. Thank you. William.
Yeah, there is a lots of recent interest on the blue economy, the so-called ocean economy. Which is good because it put an interest in importance of the oceans. But there's also challenges and potential threats. What do you think about the whole international interest in ocean blue economy? Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Now it's trying to put me in a corner now. Is it a good thing? It depends. Economists always say it depends, right? Yeah, but I've said this before somewhere. The way they coined the blue economy, it is as if we are discovering the ocean today. as if we are starting to use the ocean, but we've been using the ocean for millennia, right? So the blue economy has been here. They just put it in another wrap, and the history of that, it started actually with the small developing island states in the Pacific. And why did they do it? They're trying to say, look, we need the blue economy and to think of people and sustainability more. So it was a good intention, right? Think about system and social benefits. But then the economists and the capitalists came in, and the whole idea is how much can we get from the ocean economically? And so you have those competing stuff, and we have to watch it, right? Because already the ocean is actually very overcrowded, yeah. According to, what's his name, our colleague in Santa Barbara, Ben Halpen, almost every part of the ocean has already been touched. He calculated the percentage. So, and again, we have a paper that we hope will be accepted soon where we look at the potential for conflict if you push too much. The blue economy, you have shipping, you have whale watching, you have lots of things going on already, agriculture. So it can be dangerous. I think that's where I head if we don't do it whilst we're thinking, yeah. Okay.
Thanks,
Christine.
Rashid. Yeah, this is a great talk. I wondered what your take is. So obviously one of the key parts of the solving food, climate, biodiversity is the food piece. And it strikes me it's all different lenses we bring to the value that you place on something. Yeah. And for fish and for aquatic foods, nutrition too is, a key value. And so some of the work we've been doing with Julia Mason, who some of you all know, and other partners is on understanding the nutritional bank that you have in your water and how you make decisions, policy decisions all the time, on whether or not who fishes it, domestic, foreign fleets, if it's exported, if it's kept locally, where does it go in the supply chain? But understanding those decisions and how nutrition plays into that, I think is so critical. Yeah. But also it's a matter of bringing that information then to the people making decisions. And these are siloed, ministries often in many countries that don't often talk about the value of climate, the value, we think of fish as a commodity, mostly in economic terms, and less so in some of these other valuations. So what's been your experience in kind of making these links? Because I think that's one of the key things about this project that's so important, is those linkages.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Nutrition is a very nice angle to add to whatever you had here. And actually, I had it without emphasizing it. When I showed that person showing the shrimp, it's all about nutritional security, food security. For those who don't know, we take about 120 million tons of fish out of the ocean globally. 120 million. If you convert this to mature cows, and you assume that a mature cow is 1 ton in weight, which is reasonable, we are taking about 120 million mature fish cows each year. That's a lot of nutrition, a lot of food security, incomes for people. And I also say that fish is the thing that is food that is really considered very valuable by both poor and rich people. And I mean this seriously. If you are in San Jose or Vancouver or New York, wherever you are well-to-do, you are among the rich people or well-to-do people in the world, you have a good something to celebrate. Where do you go? You go to the restaurant and you ask for seafood. And if you are from West Africa or you are from somewhere in Bangladesh or Southeast Asia, fish may be the only animal protein you have in your diet. It's so crucial in West Africa. My colleagues will tell you, right? You go to Accra, if you don't eat kenkey and fish, you haven't eaten anything, So that's a really nice channel to argue with policymakers and also the perception. I always quarrel with my West Africans. They look down upon fish. When you say, I tell them I'm a fisheries economist, they laugh. They say, we'll look for you in the fish market. And they are not pressing me, So we need to change that perception. And I think this project, we have to do that. It feeds the people and they don't even This is really telling you how the valuation is so misplaced. I mean, come on, guys. But fortunately, these days, when they see me, you know what they say? Whoever thought fish will take you this far? Isn't that beautiful? This is what we need to do. Turn these things around, really. Yeah.
Actually, it's a great talk. Thank you. I guess you talked a lot about the ocean and deep sea mining, etc. But a lot of the people we work with are the coastal people, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of impact are felt by the people who are near shore, working catching fish in the estuary.
Yeah.
Right? That is where a lot of the pressure is even higher.
Yes.
Because that's where we see the fish supply is even less and less, and the diversity is less and less.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what should we do to about that? Because those are really something that is not big corporation.
Yeah.
It's really habitat loss and pollution and combination of many things, of course, right? But the diminishing, well, the quick decrease in supply in coastal fisheries for the coastal populations.
Yeah.
What's the solution for that?
Oh my God, it's a tough issue and a very important issue. And I use the ocean as a kind of metaphor. So in there, I have that, but it's good to focus on it because it's very important for the people. That's where the people live. Very challenging. There's a lot of pressure, right? I mean, people hang on the last fish, I say, right? Because that's what they can, I tell them, let's do this to improve the productivity. In 5 years, they say, you are crazy. What will we eat from now to 5 years? So I think we need very out-of-the-box solutions here, really. And we need to improve the fishing. We need to stop the nutrient flows and so on, reduce the pressure as much as we can, but we need to look outside the box. And what do I mean by that? An example is, I don't think all the people who want to ride on the back of the fish can ride on the fish back is too small for everybody, right? So we need to look at, and that has led me actually to be talking a lot these days about basic income. Yeah, I tried that in California and they didn't want to hear it at all. Basic income. Because another paper with Alfredo, who is the co-author here, Alfredo, the paper we did, Luis, where the question is, if we manage our fisheries absolutely top, will that be able to support all the people who want to be supported? And the answer is no. So you got to look outside. And I think basic income is one way to do it. And what people ask me, how do you pay for it? The thing is, you tax those who are polluting, overfishing, and so on. How easy that is another question. But in theory, if you tax them, you reduce the environmental damage, and you have the resources to help these people to live, to readjust, to transition. Luis led a paper where we said the subsidies that developing countries, their countries give them, if we take that and make sure they have their poverty line income, how much will it cover? 80% of the budget of what you need, right, Luis? Some of them is over 100, but as an aggregate. Yeah. So these are the kind of things we need to do. It's not playing around with the old stuff. So push the envelope, everybody here. And don't worry if they call you names, you know. Usually it's a good sign. If nobody has called you something because of your idea, that means you are not doing anything. Okay? How many people have not been called something? Just do it. Just do it. You know, I'm an economist. I work with colleagues, hardcore economists, even at UBC. They thought they wouldn't want to talk to me. I don't care. I did my thing. And recently, you know what? Brian Copeland, I met him on the street. Rashid, where are you coming from? And they read all this in the news. And he said, come and give us a talk. I said, but you know, I do crazy stuff. You want my... He said, we want to hear you're crazy. He says, so please do what you really see in your analysis and data. Tell people. Some will not like it. That's okay. But many will like it. I've come to realize, yeah. Yes. Yeah, God damn. I said that to ask a question.
What are your views on, thank you for, by the way, I've learned a lot. This is why I like staying. I'm curious, what are your views on fish farming? Is that possible to do sustainably?
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Because we spend a lot of our time on wild fisheries, so I tend to forget, but it's a great question. You know, as you know, fish farming has grown a lot since the 80s. We have one of the world's top leaders, scientists in that. Ling, she's really up there, and you could add something. You help me answer the question. But, but my personal view is that I think people are expecting too much from agriculture. I really think so. This led me to do a paper with colleagues in this room. The title is Agriculture Over Optimism. You know who forced me to put the question mark? Reviewers. I just said agriculture over optimism, and the reviewers wouldn't let that pass. So they forced me to put the question mark anyway. And we took that in because it has consequences, right? Environmental escapees, we know that in Canada. The fish meal issue, right? And one guy, the source of that title actually came out when I gave a talk like this, and one person came to me and said, you know, Rashid, why do you care about wild fisheries? I said, why not? He said, we can farm all the fish we need in one high-rise building in Holland, he told me. Whoa, that's agriculture over optimism at the extreme. So he actually gave me the idea for this title of the paper. And so I told him, oh my God, that high-rise must be really high. And will the high-rise create all the inputs you need? The water, the feed, the everything? Will it just swallow up all the waste? Where will they go? So there is that thinking, magical thinking. I think if we are able to reduce that, then agriculture has a role to complement wild fish, and together we'll be able to feed the world, I think. Yeah. Ling, you want to say something? Because I know your work in this area, man.
Yeah, thanks, Rashid, for the talk, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about aquaculture and contribution. So Ben and Haven, we work together trying to really synergize capture fisheries and aquaculture. So I'm a fish person, so I grew up in a fish farm, so I believe the role of aquaculture, the contribution of aquaculture to global food security. Because of aquaculture, so many of us can afford to eat fish. So that's why I think from the food security perspective, it's really important. Now, I think it's a time for all of us to think how to also maximize the benefits out of expanding aquaculture. In the meanwhile, also thinking about the environmental, the consequence, and also the social parts out of because now you see lots of aquaculture is also expanding to commercial scale, like offshore aquaculture. Now makes lots of challenges to small scale producers. So that's why I'm thinking in the future, I really hope all of us can work together. I believe aquaculture can play a key role in the future together with wild fisheries, but also, to really think about how to balance the environmental, social, and economic goals. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And just to give you some numbers, you know, the rest of the world will have to work hard. When you talk about agriculture, you are essentially talking about Asia. China alone is 60% of the global production, 60%. If you take in Asia, that's 90%. So the rest of us share the 10%, you know. So it's good to watch this. And on the social side, that bothers me a lot. That means if we, in West Africa, we mess up our wild fish, what does it mean? You will have to buy the fish from China when we're struggling to buy medicine for the kids. So there is a social dimension which you talk. The rest of us will have to find a way to do better, I think. Yeah.
If there are no more questions, so I think we can wrap it up here. Oh, Oh, okay, I haven't seen that.
Okay, Bechi. Thank you, sir.
Rashid, thank you for the presentation.
Yeah.
Just want to find out from you. You know, we are trying to manage and sustain the fisheries. And if a government want to go into fisheries management, he may have so many objectives. Maybe, so for instance, Ghana decide to have the close season. So what is the main rationale? Maybe to get more fish so that fishers can go and fish and sell and get more income.
After the close season.
Yeah, for
okay.
instance. The objective might be for food security, some for livelihood support, among others. So usually they have various, you know, kind of, I want to know from you. Because I'm thinking, if a fisher need to eat, to consume fish, as you said, okay, yes, he will definitely go to fish. If you tell the fisher, don't fish, we are protecting this place, MPA, blah, 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 blah. That person...
blah, 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 you use it.
The person will have to go and take fish and feed. The same thing if he's poor and he need to survive. He has to, depend on it as a livelihood support.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to know from you, your experience, what should really be our goal, the ultimate goal or objective for managing and sustaining our fisheries, especially in the developing countries?
Yeah, you know, it's difficult for me to say this is their goal, right? Because different communities, different societies have different pressures. So, of course, you ask your government people, the community, to find out what is the most important thing. But find out what is it, and make sure you run your fishery to meet that objective without killing the system or disadvantaging people too much. This takes me back to the idea of basic income, which I've come to like. I have to write more about it. I think the thing is we have to reduce global poverty as one way to lift off some of the pressure. I'm not saying all of it, but I'm pretty convinced that if people can meet their basic needs, that will give more policy space to really do big stuff. Yeah, so that is what I've been pushing. And this idea came to me at the WTO, actually, when they're pushing for the agreement. And many developing country leaders will say, Rashid, it's the same thing you said. And then suddenly I burst out and said, maybe what we need is basic income. And the whole room, they just... And then I said, I know what you guys are thinking. Where will we get the money to do this? And I said, don't ask me. I don't know where the money is. But you guys know. You are the ones hiding the money. And they laughed or they didn't laugh, whatever they did. I usually do such things, right, just to get. Yeah, but it's difficult to say this is the objective. That would be tough to do for anyone. Yeah. Last question, yeah.
Yes, Rashid, this is a very quick one.
Yeah.
This is really something I need your views on. Okay. For over maybe 20 years, I've been working on fisheries management in Ghana. Yeah. Fisheries stories are not attractive to people.
Oh, yeah. That's what I said.
We have not seen gold before. Yeah. But if there's a story about gold, everybody wants to know what is going on. Yeah. I mean, we derive about $1 billion a year from fish. 20% of the active labor force are engaged in the sector. And so many women are working in that industry.
Huge social.
I mean, we all eat fish almost every day.
Yeah.
The stocks are declining. Prices of fish are going up. In our homes, we complain. But write a story about fish, and nobody even clicks to read it.
Yeah.
And people don't even understand why the fisheries ministry should even exist.
Yeah.
So what do we do to create the awareness?
Yeah.
How do we bring people to the realization that, something that is so important to them is actually important? They have to show some concern. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a deep question, right? I mean, you can see the passion out of him. And it's the same for me. They frustrate me a lot. So I think there's a lot of misplaced valuation in society. There's a lot of it. It's not only in Ghana, all over. I mean, I compare. You see, you have I make this. You see a big, tall guy bounce their basketball, drop it in, and they get 500 million. And then a professor, if we get 20,000 to support our student, we are celebrating. There's so much misvaluation in my view, and we need to work on it, all of us. I mean, no simple solutions, and that is what all this fish is more valuable than diamond is about. A lot of these things are perceptions, right? It's perception. You know, I tell you, what I got for me choosing to do fisheries is unbelievable. Some of them will get so frustrated and say, you know, I don't know why you do fish, but I knew you since we were at school. You were doing very well. Since you are doing it, maybe there's some value in it. You know, yeah, it's serious. I mean, so we need to really get them. And how do we do communication, do the research, talk to people, young people? Yeah, I've been getting opportunity to talk to young people, and I love it. I mean, so we need to change minds seriously, I tell you. The thing that feeds you, and they don't care. It's weird, you know. Some of them even, oh no, I shouldn't say this. Yeah.
So, Rashid, let me just share experience.
Yeah.
You know, in my university, I'm a dean for School of Natural Resources. Yeah. So we do fisheries, forestry, mining, environmental sort of thing. So when the students are going to choose their options, fisheries, we have to struggle. You know, you have to do a lot of advocacy so that to get the students in the fisheries. But we have like those going to do land management, sustainable mining. You get them quickly, you know, get a lot of numbers and so forth. But I think, as you said, you know, on my campus, everybody call me fisherman, you know, which is good. But we are working hard to change that sort of narrative, which is good. Yeah. So I think all hands on deck.
All hands on deck, and keep doing well. I think we should be examples to them, right? The kind of things that fish can actually help you do. I have a friend, Doris. She did medicine when I chose to do fisheries. I'm a straight economist. They are doing finance and banking. And who will do fish? Only Rashid, right? So, and Doris is now in Winnipeg. She's in her small professional office, a doctor, seeing patients every minute. And then she hears I'm there. Rashid, where are you coming from this time? That's fish, Doris. So we have to put it in their face to get them to realize there's value in this sector. All right?
Well, thank you very much. It was always, as always, refreshing listening to your crazy ideas and talks. And so, as you mentioned, thank you very much especially to him. Please applause for Rashid.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Also, thank you very much for the questions, the many questions. So I invite you to go up in the first floor to have some refreshments and coffee. Thank you very much.
Not before we thank him,
for
the
what?
moderator.